When planning the road to success, there are a few steps to keep in mind. Identifying and solving the cause, facing and embracing change, goal setting, and being accountable. We'll talk about this today on Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. New and healthier habits lead to prosperity in all areas of your life and business. Now, here's your host, Chris Salem.
Welcome to Sustainable Success. You found us here at the Voice America Business Channel here on Lisbon platform. We've been excited to be on this platform since January of this year. And again, if you've been with us now, following our show, we've been around now since May of 2017. It's hard to believe that we've been around for over 8 years. And we want to thank you listeners that have been with us from day one. Again, we are committed to your not only personal success, but also the success of your business as we bring in subject matter experts from around the world, covering a wide array of different areas to help move you in your business to the next level. If you'd like to see content that has not been shared on this show before, which is going to be very rare, nonetheless, feel free to reach out to our team at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. That's chris@sustainablesuccess.net. We also encourage you to follow us also on Spotify, Apple, also our YouTube channel, and for audio only, and our Facebook page at Sustainable Success 2017. Again, you can get our content on a weekly basis, anytime on demand at any of those particular areas, where whatever you prefer in terms of absorbing the content shared each and every week. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show planned for you today. Yes, we are going to be talking here about a topic called From Boardroom to Badass, how to redefine power, present, and prosperity. And this is going to be primarily, in this case, to women. Yes, you women out there that are now not just going to be just in the boardroom, but you're going to be a badass. And not only a badass, but I'm going to use the word, and you're going to, don't take this the wrong way, because you're going to learn that it's going to be used in a positive way, but a badass bitch. Yes, you heard it. That's correct. And we are going to be with Giovanna Garcia-Pons. She is our subject matter expert, and she was a former corporate executive turned visionary entrepreneur, author, and behavioral strategist. And after 16 years with the Coca-Cola Company, managing international markets and multi-million-dollar portfolios, she founded Novessa Consulting, a behavioral intelligence and operational mapping firm that helps leaders and organizations turn identity into impact. She also is the face and forward author of Badass Bitches of History, a movement redefining what it means to lead with elegance, excellence, and edge. Known for her signature blend of corporate precision and feminine authority, Giovanna equips women to command their presence, build ethical wealth, and live with unapologetic purpose. And you'll be able to get her contact information here later in the show here today. And without further ado, we welcome Giovanna Garcia-Pons. Gio, how are you doing today?
It is an absolute pleasure. I am so excited to be here. And as I always say, I'm effing fabulous.
Oh, love it. Love it. So we always like to start off the show with a little backstory, maybe again about your journey from being a corporate executive with Coca-Cola. And, you know, what led you into this, not only into entrepreneurship, a visionary entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur, but into this movement where about badass bitches. We'd love to kind of get that foundation to what you're going to be sharing with us today.
And I am so excited to share this with you. And where it starts in the background, which is what you're looking for right now, is that I can tell you that I had my dream job with the Coca-Cola Company. But nobody tells you that when you get what you dream of, what do you do after that? And I got it so young that at that point, I started getting the little signals, the little taps saying there's more. Believe it or not, you can dream further than what you wanted to be when you grew up. And so what happened is because I didn't listen to any of the signs and signals, someone stepped in and said, okay, well, then we are going to take care of it. And I lost my job. I lost my dream job with the corporate Coca-Cola Company. And I think a lot of our audience can relate. When you're sitting comfortable, you think this is where you're going to ride it out for the rest of your life, and boom, the derailment, that train crash comes, and you're like, holy moly, what do I do? So that was my moment. That was the point where I really had to sit down and ask what I'm doing. But it gets even better. Not only did I have the profile that anybody would be impressed with, you're talking, I was a woman, bilingual, MBA, international experience. Guess what, Chris? No one would hire me. And 8 years later today, no one has yet to hire me, because what I truly needed to step into was entrepreneurship, because I was challenged with creating a business around who I was. And I'm going to pause there, because that has been the biggest challenge of my life. And for our audience, whether it's we're talking to women today or men, it's that moment where you're like, I know there's something else. I just can't put my finger on it. And I don't know how to go find it, put it together. And it really comes down to, I had to figure out, how do I build a business around who I am?
So let's talk about that, because there are a lot of people that maybe struggle with who they are because they've been led to believe when, you get out of college, you're supposed to do this, this, and this, especially if you came from a family where like, hey, you go to school, you get a job, you do what I did, you work until you get that, that golden watch at retirement, which now that's, that those days are gone. But nonetheless, it's a lot of people just struggle and just in life, and they're not operating from who they are. So why is it so important to be who you are and know how to now adapt from that to something where now you're not dependent upon a company or another entity, that you can now do for yourself?
And that's a great starting point, because it's okay to come to the realization that you're not being who you are. And that's because we all wear different hats throughout our life. We get to be the student, the girlfriend, the friend, the wife, the mom, go through all of the different titles that we go through. And yes, along the way, society kind of pushes you, because you get to be in a certain framework, following certain structures so that you can meet certain milestones. So it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's having the emotional intelligence and awareness to understand that when something doesn't feel right, that's the signal that says, there's some changes to be made. And most of the time, it comes back to what you said, which is you're not being truly your authentic self, which, by the way, this is a whole different topic from a medical perspective, but I am of the opinion, I'm not a doctor, that that's where disease comes in from. When you're placed in an environment where you're not being truly your authentic self and in line with your purpose. That's a whole different topic, but we're going to get...
Well, you end up stuffing your emotions and how you feel, and that can manifest itself into whatever, any kind of disease or issue. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And talk about prosperity. That's a part of it too, the health piece within yourself. But back to, you get to this moment where you're like, I can't put my finger on it. That is every indication to look inward, to ask yourself that $1 million question that everybody asks, who am I? How in the world do I figure that out? And I can tell you that there's so many different ways. And I went down that rabbit hole. There's assessments. There are hiring people to help you navigate that. There's reading books. There's meeting with people. But let me tell you my favorite way as a starting point to kind of start coming into defining who you are. And that is, I truly believe that when you're 20s is when you're really your authentic self, before you start getting those bumps and bruises. So you know what I did? I picked up the phone and I called past boyfriends. And I said, tell me your experience of me and your 20s. And what I started hearing was truly who I was. And then I said, well, how do I get back into that? We all have a magic. We all have a source. And I promise you, if you go back and ask people from your 20s, whether it was 10 years ago, 30 years ago, however long, I promise you, that is a great, what I call pin drop.
Hope audience, especially for you women entrepreneurs, women leaders that are listening, let that sink in. You can, that that no matter what you've been led to believe growing up or what's been your experience thus far, doesn't have to be how it is for the rest of your life. And, obviously Gio is really covered that. So Gio, talk a little bit about that, your pivot, like when you realized this. Was it when Coke let you go, or was it before that?
It was after Coke let me go. So in my mind, I thought, I am the poster child for corporate America. And I thought, I'm going to take a little break and then I'm going to find my next corporate job and live out my life. It was when no one would hire me, and I did not understand why. And so it's very similar as to when we're growing up as kids, we really need to know the what's happening and why. And if we get confused at any point, we start making that up. And that's where our belief system comes from. And so what happened to me, that was the turning point, because all of a sudden, every insecurity that I had started popping up. Boop, 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 boop. Like these little lifesavers started coming up. And I started pointing the finger at me. So that led me down the self development, self awareness channel, where I ended up defining who I was. And then once I got clarity on that, what I was supposed to do met me.
Wow. Very powerful. And what would you recommend, like based upon what you shared about yourself, if there was, if a female leader or a woman now looking to kind of get out of her own way, she just heard what you said, but still just scared, like to break free. Oh my God, I gotta give up security and I gotta give up what is certain. And now, I'm going into something that, I've never, done before, and it's scary. What would you recommend? Like, what would be that first step, like,
Yeah. So I call it the high dive moment. It's where you're up at top of the high dive, you're looking down, and it seems so high. You just gotta jump. And don't make the big jump, make the little jump. So you don't have to start at that big high dive. You can start at the next level. Competitive divers, how you have different levels. Well, you don't have to go straight up to the other one, just the little one. What happens? Why do we fail when it comes to when we identify and define our goals? We have these big goals and we're big dreamers, which, by the way, we should be, but you can't use that as your measurement. You've got to back it up. You've got to reverse engineer it and start with the littlest thing. And then I always say, use your intuition and follow the open doors, even though if they don't make sense, or you have no idea what you're going to get, because I promise you it's going to lead you to another door. But I will tell you, a tangible thing for them to do is, I don't recall, and please correct me, Chris, around, I think it was like the 5 people that I met in heaven. It's a book.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't read. I know what you're talking about.
It's something like that. So I took that literally, but instead of being in heaven, I was here on earth. I started identifying people to start meeting with and just telling my story and see what I would get from them. Meaning that, did they give me a book? Did they send me to somebody else? Did they share their story? And I started gathering all these little breadcrumbs, and they started creating a picture for what it is that I wanted to do. And I can't say that one thing works for everyone, but I have pretty much done it all, that I can at least give you examples of all the different things that you can try and where you need to start, and then just keep going.
Excellent. Excellent. So with that being said, what was like now when you made that, when that happened, was there like, and I know what we got to go to break here in about 3 minutes, and we can get into it in the second segment, but maybe to get things started, like, when you realized that, hey, was there like a process involved? Like you had to go in certain steps to kind of, get to where you are, and to kind of recognize that, that you could do things differently than you've ever done before. And women don't have to be held to these, these so-called standards that they've been told what to do.
For me, it's very easy. It's about clarity and making up your mind and staying congruent to it. Don't take the scenic route. Get in that straight line and go straight. If it doesn't work, it's okay. You're going to be redirected. For some, it works on the first try. For some, it takes a long time. Look at me. It took me 8 years, Chris. Who could say that? 8 years. And so I share my ups and downs and pains, but it's clarity and just make up your mind and go. And don't worry about the rest, because once you start thinking, you're done.
Got it. Excellent. So, as you know, I'm going to wait till the second segment until we do a little bit deeper. But I mean, what do you see right now with women? Are you seeing more women now, stepping up into their, in this case, like what we're talking about here, they're stepping more back into their power, their presence and prosperity?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the little sneak peek into what we're going to talk about in the second half. Yeah. And what is happening is that women are naturally stepping into these roles and now being welcomed into it for a little bit of a secret sauce that I want to talk about next. And why? Because here's some of the honest truth. And this is why, believe it or not, my clients are men. And that is, men are hurting today. That's a whole different topic, Chris. And so what's happening is women are naturally stepping into this little secret sauce that we're going to talk about. And that's what's happening. It's actually happening organically, and women get to take advantage of this so that they can fully step into what they're supposed to be doing and how to lead today.
We're going to talk about that. And I can see where men now can be doing, because they've never had an outlet before, because talking to another man about this would be looked upon as they're weak and not strong to make decisions. But yet we're all human. We have to talk about these things. So it's good that women like yourself can be that sounding board for them and so on. So no, this is fantastic. And I know we got more to come, everybody. Gio's going to be sharing a lot of insights, so please don't go away. We got more to come. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. You can send those questions to Gio later when you get her contact information. We'll be sharing that. We'll also be in the show notes. And for any reason, if you send them to us, not a problem. We'll make sure that she gets them to address for you. Till then, everybody, we got more to come. We got to go to break. We'll be right back.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Back to Sustainable Success. We're talking about from boardroom to badass, how to redefine power, presence, and prosperity. And it's all about now for you women, a new movement, the Badass Bitches movement. And now you're probably hearing bitches. Wow, no, this isn't an insult in any way. So, Gio, let's get into that. Like, since today, again, you made this transition. You've now become, involved with Harrison Klein, who has written a book called Badass badass bitches from history. And let's learn a little bit more about this movement that's helping women to kind of reclaim their power in compassion, boundaries with grace, and wealth with integrity. Excuse me, and how to reinvent themselves after maybe again being downsized at a company, and how to lead without losing your softness, and so on and so on and so on. If you could talk a little bit about that and what got you involved as the lead and the face of that movement.
And this is what gets me really, really excited, because Badass Bitches of History is giving me permission to activate my power. Because as women, or even men, right, there's a psychological state where we'll fear at some point. We're human. But for some reason, this platform has brought out the confidence within me. So what is Badass Bitches of History? First of all, it is a compilation book of 30 women from history. And it goes as far back as Cleopatra. It goes through political figures, singers, actors, all different types, to remind us of the women that had challenges, paved the way, and were successful. The beauty of the book is that it says it's 31 women who changed the world. Well, the 31st is you. Anyone who reads it, anyone who picks it up. So when that was shared with me, there was something about those two words that came together, a badass bitch, that all of a sudden I felt this activation, like this almost chemical activation in my body that made me feel like absolutely unstoppable. And that's where I got a peek into my power. That was the beginning of my journey with this. So Badass Bitches of History is a movement to allow women to activate their power. It's not about teaching us to be different from anybody else. It's to awaken permission inside of us. And I have to say that has been one of the most empowering things that I've faced with this. And that's what we all need. Whether, yes, we're talking to women, but even if you're a man, it's like, what is that bridge that's going to have you step into? It's like the athlete who's trained their entire life. They're ready for the championship game, and they go out there and they win. That's what Badass Bitches of History is about.
Great. And I hope, ladies, like, you're listening to this, and again, you'll get some more information later, and then also in the show notes here on the Lisbon platform, how you can learn more about this movement and be part of it. It is a movement. A movement means that they're looking to impact and help more women and help more women grow in this. So where do you see, this movement going, like in terms of redefining, purpose and prosperity, and, the role of women in society overall?
Yeah. So there's, I think, 3 different parts that I'd like to convey. Number one, let's talk about the word itself, bitch. The platform is really to change that stereotype of what that word began, because that word was not intended to be that. It really started changing its image in the 15th century. So when you think about what women existed in the 15th century, you're talking women like Joan of Arc. What happened to Joan of Arc? She was burned at the stake. Why? For stepping into a different belief away from current religious beliefs. So lift and shift that to today. How are we doing that any different? So that is not the word bitch today. If you are called the word bitch today, it's because, believe it or not, you're doing something right. Because unless you're doing something blatant that you just slap someone across the face, you're doing someone with really bad intentions, it is a reflection of what they are projecting that they don't have themselves. Period.
That's a great point, because a lot of times you're right. Like, some people, like why you shared that sometimes that you were psychologically unemployable, right? That people wouldn't hire you. I faced that myself. And it meant that you're either doing something right that now is foreign or scary to them, and they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so also The second part is leadership has changed today. We know that times right now are moving faster than we've ever seen them with advancements. It is so scary that we can no longer even operate in the present. We have to operate in the future and do things that we thought we were going to do 3, 4, 5 years, do it today. And one of the things that has changed is how leadership now is approached. And this is where women are winning and where men are needing the help to make that transition. And what is it? Is when I talk about masculine energy and feminine energy. Remember, we're not talking gender. We're talking on how we show up. So what's masculine energy? It's the checklist. I need to do this, this, and this in order to get to this result. Got it. Well, I have a saying, and it's called overdoing it overdoes it. Just because your grandmother's lasagna recipe tastes great doesn't mean that you're going to double the ingredients and double the time that you cook it. Otherwise, guess what? It's going to burn, right? So that's what masculine energy is. What is feminine energy? Feminine energy is being. So how do we translate new leadership in the corporate now language? Feminine energy is having agility, is having compassion, emotional intelligence, awareness. People no longer want to be told what to do just because they have to do that because that's their role and responsibility. People today want to know the why and the what. And women are really good at explaining things, taking the time and being more compassionate and just feeling, I call it providing space for people to show up. That's what's happening in leadership today. And we know that a lot of people are quitting in the workforce. Why? Because they no longer want to be treated in that masculine way. Not that we have to baby them, right? There's a fine line, but that's what women have today. I'm going to pause there for you because I have one more theory around leadership today between that masculine and feminine.
Go ahead and share with us that.
Okay. So have we ever heard, Chris, have you ever heard the coined phrase of work husband or work wife?
Husband or work wife. Yes, I have.
Exactly. So what is this? So I call it a covenant bond. You're only as strong as yourself until you merge both the feminine and the masculine. So that's why the secret to leadership today and being a woman is that we work very well with others and we allow for the other energy to come in, because when you merge both masculine and feminine energies with the support and help of your tribe or people around you, that is the success. That's where it comes from. Think about it. You have it at home. So for those of you who have a spouse or a partner, married or just together, when you go home, whether it's woman going home to a man, vice versa, to women, whatever it is, you both play that role for each other. So that's your support system. In work, it's the same way, combining both of them.
Wow, I love that. And like you said, in today's world, that's, it is more acceptable than it would have been, 30, 40, 50, well, maybe even longer, like even over 30 years ago, which was back in my day. My mother was at home full time, even though she was a teacher, she stepped down to raise my son, my brother and I, and didn't go back into the workforce until after we were out of college, and she was divorced at that point.
Yeah. By the way, Chris, do you know that today some workplaces, of course not all, are hiring someone in the role of like the grandma or like the mom? Because when she steps in, she brings that compassion. She brings that comfort that is needed in the workplace. And so today people do hire for that type of position so they can provide that, because it's an energetic environment that allows people to prosper.
Oh, absolutely. If it strategically provides that harmony for a team to perform better and to feel more psychologically safe, then heck yeah, absolutely. As long as, and if it aligns where that's, reflected in the KPIs and then anything else that she brings to the table, then hey, I think that's a great thing to do.
Yeah. Where some people have gone as far as even hiring a pastor on site. So there's different ways, but as women, we do have the advantage that that's who we are from the feminine. Men can do it as well once they discover how to balance both and how to switch into it, because women also operate in their masculine energy. And I think that that's one of the biggest struggles today, and why badass bitches of history exists, is to say, yes, you can step into your strength of masculine energy, but you get to do it from your softness of your feminine. Where women before were afraid to do that because they would be seen as too emotional, too compassionate. Oh, they're easily influenced. You can get away with anything. She's not a good negotiator. No, it doesn't mean that. We just are coming from a different angle.
Oh, absolutely. Love it. Love it. And so, like, just talking about that, what you talked about, the woman, hiring an older woman as a motherly figure and a pastor, those type of things. Talk about like where your this movement, could play a role in, well, in this case, not only, well, yes, playing a role in redefining roles in this case.
Yeah, that's very true, because I would say that we really don't have a role. You get to create your role. And it doesn't have to be defined, because at the end of the day, and look, I'm always filled with little one-liners and metaphors. Like, that's my thing, because I feel like we all have different languages. So in whatever way I can put it to for it to connect. And one of the things that I like to say is that, and of course now I'm forgetting because I explained to you all about my metaphors. So if you can remind me where I was,
no rush.
If you can remind me where I was going with that.
In this case, it was like more or less like, we've seen how roles in life have evolved over time, male, female, now dual roles, like a mom, like you talked about a wife, or what was it? A work mom, or like a wife dad, or whatever. I don't know, something along those lines. But like those types of things, like how those are getting redefined and ways that can benefit, a marriage or benefit a family, that type of thing, or anything.
Yeah, so completely lost it. So I'm going to go to something else because I'm not going to try.
Yeah, that's right.
What I am going to say though is that in redefining these roles, it doesn't have to be a role. It gets, oh, there we go. I got it. Okay.
All right, so there you go.
I often tell people it's not about the destination. It's about a state of being. So who are you being? Because that's where success comes from. We often chase joy, happiness, peace based on markers, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting the raise, whether it's getting our business to a certain revenue level. But at the end of the day, you should not feel any different in a 2,000 square foot home versus a 20,000 square foot home. And that's the same thing around roles. It's not about the roles. I get it. Society pushes us to name what we do and who we are. But at the end of the day, it's not the destination. It's the state of being. And that's what badass bitches do, is it allows you to step in to be who you truly are. You get clarity. And then that's where you springboard off of from.
Right, yeah. We'll talk a little bit about that third segment, but a state of being, because when I hear a state of being, that means, that's like a process. Like every day I get to choose. I can't choose my outcome. I could choose the process that will get me to the outcome. So if I choose a better state of being, more likely I'm going to enjoy the ride, even when it may not be pleasant all the time, but I'm not going to see it happening to me. I'm going to see it happening for me.
Correct. And I'm going to give the audience now some other little secrets as to how can you influence that to your benefit so you can have that state of being? Because that does require your environment cooperating with you. So I'm going to leave it there. But that is one very important thing. And well, I'll give them a hint. It's around behavioral analysis. Being able to see others. So we're talking about how do you become your state of being? How do you get in your power? That's all about you. At one point, you're going to get to a point where you know who you are. But now, how do you get everybody else to cooperate with you? That's when behavioral analysis steps in.
Oh, that's powerful. Powerful. Wow. So this has been great insights here. And I know you're going to be sharing some more stuff with us here shortly. Now, I know we got about a minute. And do you want to just take the next 20 seconds to sum up what you talked about the Badass Bitches movement and where it evolved from?
Yeah. So Badass Bitches is a platform, but it truly is a spark that realigns confidence and embodiment. It's truly what bridges intention with action and then thought with movement. It's one thing to know it. It's another thing to believe it, but it's about being it. And that's what Badass Bitches does, is it pulls it through and you now be it. And then everything just comes. I promise you.
Yes. So again, think about, ladies, that what you're hearing, even the men that support us women, this isn't about women taking control over you men. No, it's complementing what you're doing and not seeing this as some kind of threat. This is something that's going to help all of us in what how we see the world and how we look at things for what it is and not what we think it should be. So we don't react to things, that we respond, we choose joy, happiness, and no matter what's be outside of our control. So no, wonderful stuff. Well, Gio's going to be coming back and kind of wrapping things up in the third segment around how, again, all of you that are listening, how we can now redefine your power, present, and prosperity as a badass bitch. We'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com. Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today. You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back from Boardroom to Badass. How can you redefine power, present, and prosperity? If you're just joining us, we highly encourage you to listen to the first and second segment. Today's show, again, is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types. It also now features a section for professional athletes now transitioning to everyday life. Guess what? You don't have to do it alone. You get to now form groups with other former professional athletes, where you can share content and insights and correspondence and how you can make that transition more seamless for yourself. There's also a podcast dedicated to the area, From Athlete to Entrepreneur, headed up by founder and CEO Rob Finkelstein for Alumni Direct. So if you'd like some more information about that area, feel free to check out Alumni Direct at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. So getting back, Gio, you talked a little bit about, again, finding, who you are. You talked about, again, how you can now step into your power, your presence. Now that you have that and you have this foundation, how do you prosper from there? Like, what else how does that play into these behavioral codes that can enhance a lot of other areas in our life?
Yes, this is my favorite part. So I want everyone now to take a seat into, you have been trained by the FBI from the Behavioral Analysis Unit, or you're training with the CIA to learn social and mental tactics. It's all external at this point. So you know yourself, you have self-awareness, and you have emotional intelligence, which means you are able to pick up on things. So you have the awareness, then you can regulate yourself, and then you take action. So now when you take the action to get the result that you want, now you're dealing with external parties. And who are those external parties? It is humans. And I'm sorry, we have AI, but we know humans are never going to go anywhere. And if there's something that AI does not have, it's creativity, wisdom, and emotions. So we still have to deal with that today. So this is where behavioral codes begin. And by the way, everybody has this innate skill within them. They just get to start paying attention. So this segment, Chris, I like to call it, how do you get a seat at the table and stay there? Okay.
Let's talk. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's talk. How do we get to that seat?
Okay. So I love language. So I'm going to ask you a question, Chris, is there a difference between influence and manipulation?
Absolutely. I think, influence is all about coming from a set of core values that you share with your audience, and you are encouraging and empowering them to do for themselves. Like they draw their own conclusion to what is being shared. You're disguising the impact in questions and letting them to decide. Whereas manipulation is more about steering them to what is important to you and what, where you gain at their expense or not.
Okay. So you're not wrong in that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. However, they're both the same in that you're trying to get to a result. Okay. So that's where behavioral myths come in. And I'm going to give you one of the biggest myths out there that you hear. And that is that the first impression is the most important one, and it's on you. Myth, negative, no. The first impression is actually, you have zero control over it because it's based on how the person experiences you. So if you know already and have the predictive insights of how that person will experience you, wouldn't you take it upon yourself to influence that person? And you could call it manipulation too, because yes, there's a different intent to it, but would you not use the secret powers of behavioral analysis to get what you want? Yes or no?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's right. So this is really where the behavioral codes come in. And what are they? So the FBI is taught behavioral analysis to catch criminals, to be able to read and interrogate people to decide whether they're telling the truth or not. Okay? The same tactics, which by the way is through 5 separate things. It's through body language, elicitation, microexpressions, and then facial profiling. So if I told you that now We can debate this, but this is a science based on measurements. And I'm going to give you proof that it actually is true. Do you know that we have 123 different features on your face that give you away as to how you communicate, how you intake and process information, how you're going to most likely respond and react, how you make decisions, and the list goes so on and so on and so on. Those are the behavioral codes. And if you know how to decode somebody using those 5 things, that's it. You are getting what you want. I'm going to pause there for you.
No, wonderful, wonderful. And talk about like these behavioral codes. Are these something that have to be developed over time and
No, it's your innate intuition. Okay? I'm going to give you a perfect example. If you're sitting somewhere, it doesn't matter if you're at a restaurant, at an office, and someone walks in through a door, you know whether they're in a neutral mood, happy mood, or angry mood. Yes or no? Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you know if they were in an angry mood?
Well, their body language, their tone of voice, maybe lack of, communication or certain things they're
Exactly.
saying.
Exactly. So don't you think that in knowing that, you would then be intentional about how you interact with them so that either you could get an answer that you needed from them because you needed to approach them, or you didn't want to come into the crossfire? That's what these codes are. They ultimately help you with other people, and it's innate. It is innate. You do it today. All I do is come and define it in a way that now you can read it more on their face. But body language is the number one giveaway if you start paying attention. So that goes back to awareness. And then, which we've heard this before, which is a huge skill to have, and that is listen. Listening skills are huge. And I'm going to tell you.
Talk about listening, active listening. And yes, we would love to hear about that.
Yes. And if I may I please rephrase what you said around the active listening? So it's actually not active listening, it's listening in silence. So I am about to make your brain literally like twist. I am obsessed with the Navy SEALs and how they get trained. So the Navy SEALs, and are you ready for this? Because I want you to think about this and see if you understand it or if it lands. Navy SEALs are taught when not to move. Did you get that?
Oh, yeah, especially when they're even in a life and death situation.
When not to move. We are taught when to move, right? This happens, you do X, Y, Z. They're taught when not to move. So what happens is it's doing things in a whole different way. That is listening in silence. Active listening is a way that it really necessarily confuses us because we're in our brains. Think about listening in silence. I would encourage you, a good way to understand what that means is next time you're on the phone or even a Zoom call, I know it's a visual thing, but blindfold yourself. Blindfold yourself and see how much you listen now. That's the advantage, right? That's the definite advantage. And that is a huge skill today. And I'll give you a little tidbit statistic. You want people to speak, because the more information they give you, the better positioning you have. And so at the end of the day, guess what? When you speak more than 20 words, that's when your subconscious kicks in and they're just going to say things without realizing it. They're saying to you. This is why listening in silence is so important. And it's a crucial behavior code for you to be able to crack for influence, for confidence, command, and getting what you want.
Great advice. Because, like I said, when you're listening in silence, you're not listening just with your ears. You can listen with your senses and your
Yes.
eyes and
Yes.
energy and vibration and whatever.
Yeah. So we all have it. That was the answer
Yeah.
to your question. It's innate in us. It's just that you get to awaken that superpower.
Got it. Awesome. Well, that's great. And so as you're sharing on these, be anything else that you have not shared that you feel could kind of just really like connect the dots to what not only what you talked about with prospering, but everything back to what you've talked about from the beginning.
Yeah. So I would say that if all else fails, always default to your intuition because we all have the answers. The issue and challenge is that there's so much noise around us that we get sidetracked. Look, your job is to keep your psychological state straight from the noise once you've landed on who you are, clarity on what you're supposed to do, and really holding that presence and stepping into that power. There's two things when I say just always default to your intuition because it's never wrong. And there's a difference between intuition and your mind. But there's two things that derail your psychological state, and that is fear and greed. And what's interesting about those two things is that they are what you think they are, but they actually come masked in so many different ways that you would have never have guessed that it's fear. And people think greed is being selfish, but selfish comes in different ways. We do stuff because we want to sometimes be purposely greedy, but sometimes we want to be greedy for our well-being. So those two things are the two things that derail you. So always go back to your intuition.
Yeah. And intuition is sometimes, certain people can have still hard time with that, but it's good that your movement is really, helping people, especially women, to really come back to that intuition.
Yeah.
That
There's
silence.
a reason. Yep. There's a reason why they say trust your gut, right? Trust your gut. And remember at the beginning of our show, I said, this is for that person that just knows that there's something else out there for them, or they can just feel it, but they don't know how to explain it. And they don't know what to do with it, but there's something more. That's the piece that you're looking for. Or you ask yourself, man, I can't seem to break through this threshold, right? Which when you're an entrepreneur, you have different threshold. You have like the first 100,000 threshold, then you may have the million. But as an entrepreneur, if you are at this level, I've heard that one of the biggest thresholds to break is the $10 million threshold.
Yeah.
And that's where you see a lot of people enlisting in these different programs with different coaches, all that kind of stuff. But they all come back to the same thing, which is, are you in alignment with who you are? Are you listening to your intuition because you have the answers? And then how are you showing up and being so then you can influence the others around you to get to the results? It's that simple, Chris.
Well, thank you. We're towards the end of the show, Gio, and this has been such a wonderful experience, you sharing this insights. I want to thank you personally and the rest of the team here at Sustainable Success for taking time to be with us here, sharing these insights. I'd love to leave this time for you to let the audience know how can they get in contact with you. What are you up to, and anything that you'd like to share that you'd like to provide them?
Absolutely. So today I'm going to push two different angles. One, I would not be doing myself and being a badass bitch if I did not direct you to me. So who am I truly? I am a business consultant that has figured out a formula on how to combine operational mapping with behavioral analysis, which is a lot of what we talked about. And I'm known for my geo mapping. That's what it is. And what does it do? It organizes you, brings you clarity, and then gives you your execution blueprint. So how to get a hold of me is you can find me on Instagram, and it's the handle Geo Mapping, GIO. And then certainly at Novessa Consulting as well. But then what do I owe the way that I'm showing up today to is to badass bitches of history, who's giving me the permission to step into my power, be unapologetic, and know that being a bitch is not being ruthless or controlling. It's about compassion, self-awareness, and stepping into your feminine. So how do you find badass bitches of history? It's really easy. Go to badassbitches2025.com, as well as we are Badass Bitches on Instagram. And today only I got permission, Chris, from Harrison, because we introduced this a long, long time ago. But if they go to Badass Bitches of History 2025, there is a very, very inexpensive bundle where you get the book, a mini course that I did myself, as well as a journal. And believe it or not, the book itself is worth having because it's women from past history that today paved the way to let us know that no matter what challenge, you're either going to face it thousands of years afterwards, you're facing it today, you're still going to face it. It's how do you get through those challenges? Because when we get through challenges, it grows our capacity even bigger to then receive what is really meant for us and be ready to hold it. So that's where I'm going to say thank you. It was amazing being here with you.
We'll make sure we'll have that in the show notes. Be in the show notes, everybody. Thank you, Gio, for being here. We have to get going, but the audience, we want you to take advantage. Reach out to Gio. Again, her contact information is there. Take advantage of that bundle offer from Badass Bitches Movement. You won't regret it. Until then, everybody, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success. If you like to see content covered on a future show, again, reach out to our team at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday at the same time. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into Sustainable Success. Be sure to join Chris Salem and his guests every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Have an incredible week.